This program is proudly brought to you by Puma Energy and proudly supported by BSB, official sponsor of the 2015 Pacific Games, and New Guinea, exclusive carrier for the 2015 Pacific Games, and Coral Sea Hotels, preferred accommodation provider of the 2015 Pacific Games.
Good evening and welcome to Road to Port Moresby 2015. Tonight we take a tour of the venues and Prime Minister Peter O'Neill settles concern once and for all, encouraging the people of Papua New Guinea to work together and support each other in the drive to produce the best games possible. We also speak to Chief Executive Officer of the Games Organising Committee, Peter Stewart, and Sports Minister Justin Chichenko later on in the show as they speak of the business benefits of the Games. But to begin tonight's episode, Steven Kari speaks of his return after a slight diversion following his gold-winning performance at the 2014 Glasgow Commonwealth Games.
Simplice is standing backstage. He's watching the television. This man's out here. If he lifts this, he is the champion. If he misses it, it goes to Australia.
What a fight! Wow, that was the most spectacular lift of the day so far.
Steven Kari, PNG's golden lad, knew what he wanted right from a very young age. Born in Port Moresby, he grew up in the coastal village of Hanuabara, where he developed a passion for sport in general. His favorite sports as a child were rugby and cricket. Inspired by seniors in the village that were into weightlifting, young Steven also longed to be a weightlifter one day.
When I was young, I didn't, choose anything. I only chose sport. I always loved to play weightlifting, cricket, rugby. Those are the things that always give me motivation because I love to run around and play and have fun. So after when I grow up, and I was thinking of weightlifting because when my senior athletes always playing, when they train, then I always come out and want to lift weights. When I was a young boy, a baby, always wanted to lift weights, but they always send me with get up. So I always go out and come inside again, want to train again. So yeah, then I chose weightlifting for my life. I didn't choose school or education or anything else. I just want to do weightlifting to do something good for my country.
Today, Steven is hopeful and confident as he eyes gold in this year's Pacific Games. As the youngest member of Team PNG, he finished 15th at the 2012 Summer Olympics. A year earlier, he'd won gold at the Pacific Games, and last year, bagged gold again, this time at the coveted Commonwealth Games held in Glasgow. His feat at the Games brought with it a lot of public adulation, but Steven believes in looking forward and staying focused on his task and not letting fame go to his head. He does, however, pride himself in the fact that his name is now amongst the top in weightlifting, and he now sets his eyes on the Olympics and other world championships.
They always ask that, how did I feel that when I win the gold medal? I said, what do you think? First, male lifter to win gold medal for Papua New Guinea and for weightlifting. Not only for Papua New Guinea, because Gail had already done the first one, and the second is Ryan, and third is me, and the fourth is Deacon. Because when they say, how did you feel when you win the gold medal? I said, I feel something really special, because my name is right up there in the top in weightlifting. So whoever win another gold medal, but they always become second and third and onwards. But my name is right up in front, number one. So they can't take that name away or take that glory or anything away. So always my name is right up there. So I'm really proud. So I'm looking forward for this Olympic Games and World Championship. So if I win that one, I'll be the first weightlifter in PNG to win those medals.
Life back in New Caledonia was structured and completely devoted to the sport of weightlifting. He used to train twice and sometimes 3 times a day. And he has many good things to say about his coach in New Caledonia, Paul Koffa, who has helped motivate Steven and who taught him techniques on how to moderate, how to get over injuries, and how to get over tiredness.
We never made any friends down there in the New Caledonia because it's like a prison in New Caledonia. When you train there, those boys and girls are your brothers and sisters. You can't make any relationship or having fun or any other social life in there. All you gotta do is train, eat and sleep, or go shop, buy food and come back and train again. It's the same thing. Same old routine, training, eat and sleep, that's all. It depends on the program what we done. Sometimes we train 3 times a day. Normally it's always 2 times a day, morning and the afternoon. So we start at 10, we finish at 12, 12:30, almost 1 o'clock, we always finished. We go for lunch and we start at 4 o'clock until 6 o'clock we finished, or 6:30 we finished. So yeah, and when some other season always come like winter, summer, and Paul always change the program. Then we always train 3 times a day. That's morning, the lunchtime, and the afternoon. So I learned a lot of things like from Douglas. And when I went to the institute, it's like the level is really high standard. So when I went there, Paul and I are really close, like a father like son. We used to train there. And I used to make him a lot of coffee, and I used to give all my time to him. And then he turned around and give all his time to me. That he always trained me, look after me. When we travel, he always feed me. Whether I always have money, he always look after me like his own son. Because his son is my best friend, Jamie Koffa. So after that, we used to train all his, all his secret, he gave it to me in weightlifting. How to motivate, how to get over the injury, how to get over tired, all this lazy. And he always give me all those things that how I can use it for motivation and everything, or how to give inspiration to the crowd, how to lift, and how to inspire the people. That's what Douglas done and Paul done for me. And I know those 2 secrets that I can use together to use it in the Pacific game.
However, when asked which persons had the most impact in his life, he says it is his uncle and coach, who is also a father figure to him, and brought him up from a young age to be the man that he is today.
My coach is the one who doing everything for me. Because when I was a baby, he take over me like his son. He always look after me. He look after me like his son. He always feed me and train me and do everything. So he's the one who always want to look after me to win gold medal.
I brought Steven up as a child and I treated him as my own son. I started coaching him when he was about 10 years old. So I started coaching him for like the first year. I started training with the senior athletes. At that time there was only boys in the team, so he started training with the boys, and Steven showed me his potential at that time, the first year. The second year he was already beating the senior lifters. He was doing the same squats as them. And then like he moved on to like be lifting. As a 13-year-old he was lifting more than the senior athletes. So I selected him in the team to represent the country at the World Cup, Commonwealth and Oceania Championships in Samoa. So at the time he was only 13 years old, and he was lifting in the 56 kilo category. He snatched 85 and clean and jerk about 115. So he was already baptized. He had a baptism of fire when I sent him. That was his first competition, and it was a big competition. And in that team was the girls, Kathleen, Dika, Rita, and Guba. And Steven was the only male at that time.
Winning gold brought a lot of public attention with it, and Steven was flanked by crowds, media and sponsors all vying for his time and attention, and as a result was not able to give the time and focus on his sport a month after his return, saying he'd lost his form, but under the guidance and stewardship of his coach and uncle has once again returned to form.
Oh yeah, after the Commonwealth game when I came back, I was really busy with the media things, and a lot of people always want to see me. So when I came here, I never spent times in the gym. Maybe for a month or something like that. I lost my form, and it was really difficult to get it back. Physically weak, mentally really weak, because a lot of media things coming to me, and my training was really out of form. So until for a month or something like that, I've been doing this media and all those things that people want to talk to me, and all the sponsors and running around, and plus doing my investment. I was really busy, so I lost my form, and my coach was really disappointed. He said, "You already lose your form, so it's very hard to take it back." And that afternoon, when my coach sent it to me, and then that evening I came and trained and couldn't power snatch 110. Really weak. My legs were shaking when I do squats. All the lifting I was doing, like I wasn't strong. My body wasn't strong. Always busy walking around and driving around, going to doing whatever the people always want to see, the gold medal, what he done. They want to hear the news and everything, but I respect them. They want to hear what I done and everything, but after that I got tired of it, and I tell everyone I'm done with these things, because I can't continue with these things. Whether I win gold medal or anything, but I have to continue on my training. I can't move on because I already lost my form. And that's the time the media and everybody slowed down. And when I train until now, I already got my form back, and now I'm really in a brilliant form that I can do something even better what I done. And I feel better now because all my injury and everything all gone now. Because my coach, Douglas, my uncle, he knows how to massage and do everything. So my back injury is gone, my knee injury and my wrist, they're all gone now. So I'm fresh now, and I'm really happy. I thank God that he's the greatest, so he's the one who always look after me. I never forget about him, because I always travel, train, when I eat, when I walk around, I always ask him to look after me. That's the most important thing in my life.
Steven has now decided that he wants to train on home ground amongst loved ones, instead of in New Caledonia, where he spent long hauls away from family and friends. And we wish this young, energetic and talented man, who has been brought up the hard way, all the very best, as he strives for gold again, this year at his home in Papua New Guinea.
My dreams about Steven is that I want him to go on and be the first PNG weightlifter to win a medal at the Olympics. So that is my dream. I wanted him to go back and train with Paul, but this didn't happen. So with him training under me and at this Hanabada weightlifting gym, I think he will do well. He will do well, but he needs to be in a weightlifting atmosphere where he eats, sleeps and trains every day. Over here he has some distractions that can upset his training and things like that. So I'd rather he trained with me, but at the institute he would be doing well, better.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill was accompanied by delegates from the Ministry of Sports on a tour of all venues recently. Mr. O'Neill urged PNG to put aside all the critics and use the Games as an opportunity for nation building. Meanwhile, Minister for Sports Justin Chichenko has made it clear that the Games will go ahead accordingly and the possibility of postponing is non-existent.
4 months out from the 2015 Pacific Games, Papua New Guinea Prime Minister Peter O'Neill has settled concerns on the completion of all Games venues. While the issue has made headlines around the country and offshore, the Papua New Guinean government remains adamant on delivering the Games no later than the set date of the 4th of July. Earlier in the year, Minister for Sports and National Events Justin Chichenko said the possibility of deferring the Games was non-existent.
Deferring the Games is not even an option. It's not even a situation. We will never ever defer the Games. The Games are on July 4th, 2015. And we look forward to all the Pacific Island countries coming to Port Moresby for the Pacific Games. We have always had a set deadline in place, and we will keep to that, and will ensure that everything is ready for July 4th for all our visitors and athletes.
Last month, Prime Minister O'Neill was accompanied by delegates from the Ministry of Sports on a tour of all venues. Given the time frame that the contractors have had to work with, Mr. O'Neill regarded the Games Village as one of the most well-established and modernized accommodation facilities in the Oceania region.
Village where it's going to accommodate all the athletes who are coming to these Games in July. And of course, let me take this opportunity to thank Becca and of course the construction company, CRCE, for an excellent work. Given the time frame that we needed to deliver this project, I think it goes without saying that they've done an incredible job. Thank you. I think Papua New Guineans need to be proud of themselves that we are able to deliver a world-class facility in record time. This is something that we should take pride in, not something that we should be running around criticizing each other. We are not here trying to have a blame game. We want to deliver the best games possible. And I think Papua New Guineans should start working together for the good of our country.
The Games Village has reached the final stages of completion and will be ready to accommodate over 4,000 athletes and officials for the duration of the Games.
These things build nation's pride as we host events like this. So once again, it is a facility that is now, you can see it for yourself. It's not something in planning stages, it's now been constructed. And I think this will be the best Games that South Pacific will ever host, I think, in the Pacific Games history. You can't compare this to facilities in Fiji or Tonga or anywhere else. So Papua New Guineans take pride in this, that you are delivering something world-class standard, something that our future generations will use.
The PM's response to the critics on the slow progress of the Games facilities was rather encouraging. He said in the lead up to the Games, Papua New Guineans should use this as an opportunity to work together and be a part of nation building. Meanwhile, the Tarma Indoor Complex has taken shape. Jeff Hall, project manager of Fletcher Moresby, says the company has been working 7 days a week for over 20 months and they aren't prepared to fail Papua New Guinea.
We've been here for now 20-something months. We've been putting the effort in ever since. We've been working 7 days a week for over 20 months now. We aren't doing that to fail, I can tell you right now.
The facilities, once completed, will leave a lasting legacy and contribute to the game's success. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill will officiate the opening of the games on the 4th of July.
The Pacific Games will greatly benefit the business community. In fact, it is already benefiting businesses through contracts for preparing the facilities for the Games. For the construction industry, the Pacific Games has provided the perfect opportunity to harness public-private partnerships, with the government spending 1.5 billion kina on the construction phase alone.
The 2015 Pacific Games will encourage business, trade, investment and tourism and will complement Papua New Guinea's economy in 2015. Minister for Sports and National Events Justin Chichenko confirmed in an interview with Road to Port Moresby 2015 that the Games had already contracted over 20,000 people.
It has employed nearly 20,000 people, which is from the construction sites, to the Pacific Games Authority, to the subcontractors that provide services to the venues committees, and so on. It's basically a 360 approach where everybody benefits from the grassroots right up to the small business enterprises.
An opportunity presents itself for the construction industry to harness public-private partnerships. The government will have spent 1.4 billion kina on the construction phase alone after the completion of all Games venues. In the first Parliament seating for 2015, acquittals of 100 million kina for the Pacific Games infrastructure were presented to Papua New Guinea's Finance Minister James Marape.
Really excited the economy, especially in Port Moresby, in many, many different ways. The government has pumped into the economy nearly 1.4 billion kina, which it is still doing now until July and onwards this year. So you can imagine that money will be spread out through many, many different hands, many, many different people, and many, many different companies and businesses that will be providing services, especially with the lead up to July 4th. There'll be many more involved and be able to take advantage of the Pacific Games and the spin-offs that comes with it.
I think the Games provides an opportunity which is just tremendous for the development of business here in Papua New Guinea. In many instances, we're requiring either volumes of product or types of product that are perhaps not readily available here, which provides a fantastic opportunity for local businesses to be able to upskill their workforce and to develop joint partnerships with people to be able to provide these types of services. We have over 200 local companies have already received contracts from the Games, and those companies from the Games Organising Committee point of view are sharing in over 130 million kinas worth of work.
Already, 51 million kina has been shared with the business community for work for the Games from the Organising Committee. Chief Executive Officer of the Games Organising Committee, Peter Stewart, says the opportunity for development of businesses is one that is on the rise. Papua New Guinea can and will be promoted to a broader market.
Games provides an opportunity to send a message to the rest of the world about what Papua New Guinea is like. So from the point of view of tourism, we're going to have over 4,000 people, visitors to our shores, coming, having a fantastic times during the Games, and then going home and being personal testimonials to the value of coming to Papua New Guinea, how friendly our people are, how wonderful the sights are, all the amazing things that you can see and do. In addition to that, we're going to have nearly 300 international media who are going to do exactly the same thing. And when they go back, they're going to be writing stories about how wonderful Papua New Guinea is and how friendly the people are. So from a tourism point of view, the opportunity to really promote Papua New Guinea to a broad market is very important. But it also sends a message to business as well. Things like our broadcast. When we deliver over 1,500 hours of broadcast across the world, that sends a message to businesses that we have the technology and the resources here in Papua New Guinea for major international communication. And that's what businesses need to be able to operate in the global environment. So if they can see that that communication infrastructure exists within the country, there's an opportunity for them to come and do business here.
While the infrastructural developments are booming, Stewart says the tourism industry will also rise and will generate an influx of international visitors. Port Moresby, as Papua New Guinea's capital city, has received major facelifts over the past 18 months. The 161 billion Kina Kookaburra flyover bridge is one of the many infrastructural developments happening outside of the Games venue constructions. Governor for the National Capital District, Powers Parkop, is adamant in using the Games as a platform to elevate the status of Port Moresby.
That's all for tonight on Road to Port Moresby 2015. If you'd like to view this episode again, visit www.mtv.com.pg or follow and like Road to Port Moresby 2015 on Facebook and Twitter. Join me next fortnight as we highlight more venue updates and the host broadcast preparations leading up to the Games. I'm Lorraine Genia. Good night.
This program was proudly brought to you by Puma Energy and proudly supported by BSP, official sponsor of the 2015 Pacific Games, and New Guinea, exclusive carrier for the 2015 Pacific Games, and Coral Sea Hotels, preferred accommodation provider of the 2015 Pacific Games.